Let's record on this. Okay, we should be recording now. Hello. So today we have Lacey Bakker. She is a I should say she's an author because she's not only written children's books, she's also written some adult books as well. Let's record on this. Okay, we should be recording now. Hello. So today we have Lacey Bakker. She is a I should say she's an author because she's not only written children's books, she's also written some adult books as well. And she's also a publisher. So welcome, Lacey.
Thank you so much for having me, Gloria.
Yes.
I'm excited to be here.
Good. I'm so excited that you're here too. And today she's going to be reading what story?
I will be reading Grandma Gators Fascinating Facts, and this is illustrated by the one and only Alex Gubar. And I don't know if you can see my screen here, but
Yes.
it is the cover of the book. And what I really love about this is how when it's folded, the back of the nose is on the back of the book, or the tip of the nose is on the back of the book, which I think is super fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I wrote this book in conjunction with an alligator and wildlife discovery center in Madeira Beach in Florida. And they actually have this in their gift shop. And I got a private tour and I got to take all these notes, and all of this information about alligators was so fascinating that I decided that I was going to put it into a book. So this is actually nonfiction. So we will get started.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. Come gather round, hatchlings. I have a story to tell about the day you were born. The old gator settled in at the edge of the swamp, and the baby alligators nestled close together to listen to the tale. It was a beautifully warm day, and there was not a cloud in the sky. You were merely an egg waiting to hatch as your mother stood guard. When the day came that you finally arrived, danger lurked from above. What kind of danger, grandmother? Birds of prey, my dear. A bald eagle had his eye on you and was ready to swoop in and snatch you, but your mothers acted quickly. You crawled into the protection of their mouths, and they swam and brought you to safety to where we are today. But why would an eagle want to hurt us? A hatchling interrupted. Because you look like dinner to them. Some hatchlings were injured in the process of escape and could not be saved. Others relied on humans to help them. Humans? Yes, some hatchlings are not as fortunate as you are. They are rescued from farms or from people who should not have them as pets. Where do they go? They go to wildlife centers where they're given food, care, and all of the provisions that they need to grow strong. Will we ever see them again? Most cannot be released into the wild. Grandmother, continue the story. Predators on the ground were also a threat to your survival as hatchlings. Large snakes such as pythons, raccoons, possums, and bobcats were around every corner. So your mother set up a nursery where they would take turns watching and protecting all of you. Did you know the markings on your back help your mother identify you? It's similar to a fingerprint where each one is unique and no two are the same. These markings fade and disappear as you get older to help you blend into your surroundings. Wow, what else is special about us? Well, many things. Your bodies are made up of almost all muscle, and you can go for almost 2 years without eating when you are fully grown. But I'm hungry now. Yes, my dear, your mothers are preparing dinner. Tell us more, grandmother. You will have around 80 teeth that stack on top of each other like cups. When you lose a tooth, another one is already there and ready for use. You'll go through approximately 3,000 teeth in your lifetime. What else, grandmother? You've got a very strong jaw. As babies, like you are now, your jaw is as strong as a large dog's. But as you mature, you have a bite force that is 3 times stronger than a lion's. And your cousin, the Nile crocodile, has such a powerful jaw that it is 5 times more powerful than a great white shark. Whoa, that's awesome. You have dots along your jawline that are pressure sensors. What does that mean? It means that because of these special dots, you can detect movement from up to 250 feet away. That's as long as 2 football fields. Wow, can we run as fast as a football player? I'm not sure, my child, but I do know that we can reach speeds of 10 miles per hour on land and 20 miles per hour while swimming. Plus, you can jump almost half your height vertically and forwards. I'm a great swimmer. You all are. Your tongue is able to roll up at the back of your mouth to stop you from swallowing water while you snooze at the bottom of the swamp. Did you know that you can sleep underwater for up to 2 hours at a time and that your eyes are designed to work like swim goggles? That's super cool. Grandmother, how old are you? I am 50 years old, my dear. Whoa, that's really old. Yes, it is. Although some of us can live up to the age of 80. Grandmother, we're pretty amazing, aren't we? We sure are. And we've got 200 million years of evolution to prove it. What do you mean? I mean that we are older than dinosaurs and that we are all descendants from ancient families. Grandmother, where do we come from? That is a story for another night. Good night, my sweet hatchlings. Good night, grandmother. And we have some fun facts. So these are in the back of the book, and I want to read you a couple. I'm not going to read all of them, but alligators are a keystone species. So that means that the whole ecosystem kind of gets thrown out of whack and everything is connected. So these animals, alligators, were engineered for survival and for evolution. And if the Everglades in Florida are ever wiped out, this will be an issue for all of humanity. And I was fortunate enough to go and visit the Everglades and see alligators. And honestly, they were on the sides of the road, in the ditches, they're all over the place. And that's like the southernmost point of Florida. And the Everglades is such an amazing place because so many species survive there together. So everything from alligators to pumas, so panthers,
Wow.
things like that. Yeah.
Right.
Another
Cool.
thing that's really important to understand too is that environmental factors such as loss of habitat due to construction, the introduction of invasive species that are consuming traditional food sources, threaten the conservation of the American alligator, and it's critically endangered actually in the Miami Keys. So the only way to tell a male apart from a female is to probe them when they get to a certain age because every single organ is internal.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, we can help with the preservation and conservation by not introducing more invasive species into the wild. Also, we don't want to keep exotic pets ever because we don't know how to properly care for them. They're not really in their element. They're having these problems where people collect exotic animals and then they can't care for them anymore and they just let them out into the wild, which is not good for anybody. It's not good for the animal. It's not good for the animals here. It's not good for the environment. And there was a Hurricane Andrew in Florida that happened. It leveled a Florida research facility, and the animals were released from inside into the wild that shouldn't have been there.
Hmm.
And another reason why we get invasive species is because international ships emptying their ballast pumps release invasive species into the oceans that they don't belong in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This book also contains a glossary, so hatchling, lurked, provisions, vertically, descendants, etc. And then here's a picture of me.
Here you are. Yep.
Yeah, at the Alligator and Wildlife Discovery Center in 2021. And this is where I got to hold an alligator. And this is a really fun picture because these alligators are actually brought into school settings to teach about conservation and preservation of habitat, but also um, they are an educational tool. And what they do is they paint the fingernails of the alligator so that they don't bring the alligator more than once to do a school visit so that they each get a
Oh,
break.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good though. You don't want
Yes,
to stress them out either, right?
definitely. And
Yeah.
then here's
So,
a little bit about Alex. Yeah, she's a digital illustrator. She came to us when she started her co-op, and she's done so many great books. This is one of my favorites of her work because it's such a beautiful book, and she's really, hit it out of the park. So thank you,
yeah,
Alex.
yeah, that's awesome. That's a
Yeah,
great way to tell about true facts of the animals around you, right? Because I mean, you hear about animals, but you don't really like unless you really study them like you had to, right? I mean, what did you have to go through actually to create this book, to get all the information for this book?
sure. That's a great question. So I contacted the Alligator and Wildlife center that I was going to, and I asked them if I could come in for a tour because I was working on a book. And they said, absolutely, we'll do a private tour for you. We're going to show you around the entire facility. And, we were super lucky to have our own kind of tour guide, Dan, who took us around and explained all of the different animals to us, as well as the challenges that they experience in the wild, how the animals got there, that type of thing. So, what I did was ask as many questions as I could, and I copied everything down. I took notes while Dan was speaking. Him and I emailed back and forth a couple of times just so I could get clarification on some facts. But the main thing is that as authors, I feel like we have to be very inquisitive. We have to wonder about different subjects and animals and, ask the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the subject that we're kind of learning about. So the more curious you are, the more open-minded you are in terms of finding out things and looking for facts and kind of putting things together, the easier it is to kind of put your story together in terms of an outline. So I kind of knew what I wanted to accomplish with this book. So not only do you have to ask really good questions to the right people, but you also have to understand what your book is trying to accomplish, and what you want your readers to get out of it.
Right. Okay. So what would you say, what advice would you give to, say, an author that's like starting out, or even an author that perhaps can't travel, or
Sure.
whether
Yeah,
it's medically or financially,
that's a great
how would
question.
they get their information that way if they couldn't
Definitely.
actually go there to be there to get the information?
Yeah, that is a great question. And you know what? I am so fortunate to be able to travel as part of my job and as part of my work. And, I'm so thankful that I get to do that. And for people who aren't able, for a number of reasons that you've mentioned, a great resource is the library. A great resource is picking up the telephone and finding people that you need to talk to. So bring in the experts, right? So if you're going to write a book, make sure you bring in the experts, people who know what they're talking about, people who can kind of guide you to what you want to know. I would also say that another great resource is online. Make sure that you check your facts though. And that's where experts come in handy too, is because you can say, you know what? I have this information here. I'm wondering if it's accurate. I was wondering if I could send it to you. Could you give it a look over? Let me know what you think. I'm working on a book. And honestly, once you tell people that you're working on a book or you're doing research or anything like that, they are more often than not willing to help. So that's a really great thing. That's also kind of a benefit as well, that you have interest in a specific field that they're an expert in and you're asking for their advice. So, I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes, they're going to be able to help you. So, for people who can't travel, make sure you use your resources that you do have, such as the library, the internet, the phone book. websites, contact information to people that you want to get in touch with at an aquarium, let's say, or wherever you're trying to write your book, whatever subject matter that is, there's always somebody who's going to know what you're trying to find out and be able to help you and share that with you.
That's great advice. Thank you. Yeah.
You're
I had a
welcome.
question too about the alligators.
Yeah,
Now, I was really surprised to learn that they only lived between 50 to 80 years. I thought they lived a lot longer than that. So that really
yeah.
surprised me when you said that. I was like, really? Yeah, I totally thought they were like much older
Like
than that.
turtles, like 150 or 300 or whatever. Like where
Wow.
I am
Yeah.
right now, I'm in Arizona, and there are some cactuses that are over 300 years old. So,
Wow.
yeah, I mean,
Holy
that's the
cow.
thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a really good question though, Gloria, because yeah, they can live 50 to 80 years old in captivity, and it's kind of a weird thing to wrap your brain around if they're older than dinosaurs, right? So you
Right.
think they'd have a really long kind of life and they'd be thousands of years old. But the case is that they're the descendants from those
Oh,
originals that are
right.
that old. So
Yeah,
they
so
do
they're
have
not
a lifespan.
necessarily that old.
Right.
And I think everybody just, and myself too, you just
Yeah.
automatically think, oh my gosh, they're old, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. They're one of the oldest species. They did come before dinosaurs, but their ancestors were before dinosaurs, and they're descendants of that from the DNA that they carry.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome information. Yeah. And
Yeah.
what a great book. I really enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The other thing too is I know like whales and fish and that they grow according to their habitat, right?
Yes.
That's what I was told. And is that the same with the alligators as well?
Do you know what?
Like
I don't
say,
know the answer to that question.
no?
I don't
Okay.
know. I am
So
not
that's
sure.
a
That's
good
such a good
thing to,
question.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
a good
I
thing to
think that,
research, isn't it?
yeah, someone should research that and then let me know. Pandapublishing8@gmail.com.
There you
Do
go.
alligators grow to the size of their habitats? I'm gonna
It's funny
say
how my brain thought about that, right? Because it's like fish grow to their
yeah,
habitat,
or
so
like
why wouldn't
turtles or
alligators?
whatever. Yeah,
Because you were
I don't
talking
think
about,
so.
people taking
Yeah,
them as pets. You shouldn't do that, right? And
no,
it's like, yeah,
definitely don't do that.
maybe do they grow only to their habitat, or are they gonna like outgrow their habitat,
Right,
right?
right. Logically, I would think that they don't do that, that there isn't a stunt of growth based on their environment. Because some of them that we see out in the wild are maybe 8 to 10 to 12 feet long that I've seen with my own eyes.
Hmm.
So, I know that those are out in the wild, but I also know that there are different types of alligators. So some of them do have a limit on how big they grow depending on the species. So it's kind of a double-edged sword with your question because it could be right in one sense that that specific species is based on its environment, or it could be that they just stop growing at 2 feet or whatever it is. But that's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. And you know what? Part of being an author is not knowing the answer to everything, right? And finding it out and going down and that rabbit hole and figuring out the answers to things.
Right, because it's good because some people might think, well, you write books, you must know a lot of stuff. Well, we probably know what we write about
Right.
because you have to do the research for it. And before that, you probably didn't know anything about it, right?
Exactly.
So
That's
we're in the same
exactly
boat as
right.
you until,
Yeah,
all that
yeah, no, for
information
sure.
comes about, right? Yeah.
It
So,
does. It
yeah,
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Uh,
So what do you think actually, according to you, what do you think actually makes a good story?
okay, so this is the publisher and me that you're asking a question to, and then I'll answer from the author's side, okay?
All right.
So, as a publisher, the way that I choose stories is based on what I really want to do is get inside of our readers' heads. What do they want? What kind of variety do they want to see? What kind of stories are they looking for? And, I say this as a publisher all the time. If your book is for everyone, it's for no one. That's why we have to have a wide variety of books because not everybody is interested in the same subjects, right? So,
Right.
our kids' books, we do have a lot of books about animals, but we also have books about family and friendship and bullying and social issues and things like that because, there's so many subjects to talk about. And when I'm looking for a children's book, the main thing that I'm looking for in that is that the story is going to captivate the child because children's books are for ages usually around 4 to 7, 4 to 8, depending on the reading level. And if you don't hook your reader right away, they're never going to read another book that you write, and they're probably not going to finish this one. So
Right.
I really look for starting where the action is. Books that are not preachy. We don't preach to kids. That's their parents' job. Yes, books should have a lesson in them, but it shouldn't be heavy-handed. It shouldn't be to the point where it's like, um, based on, how you would raise your child type of thing. It is to entertain and educate and to help people escape. So, maybe they're stuck at home in a snowy day and they're reading books and they're escaping to a beach or to a place where there's alligators or to a place where there is an amusement park like in your book. So when I'm
Right.
looking for books specifically, it's always about that um concept of having the reader invested in the characters. They care about what happens to them. They don't have to like them, but they have to be invested in what happens to that character. And I also really like books that sit the reader right beside that main character. So that's what I look for all of our books in our lineup, to be honest. Children's books are a little bit different because they're so visual. So those stories, we have to have a clear idea of what the illustrations will do in terms of filling in the gaps for the missing information, right? So picking books based on what our readers want, but also a really great story with really excellent characters is key. Um, that's from a publisher's point of view. From an author's point of view, what I think makes a great book, if we're talking about children's books, let's say, is the ability to be able to have kids ask for your book over and over and over again. And we see this a lot with our rhyming kids books, like Panda the Very Bad Cat. That was my very first book as an author. And that's our flagship book. People notice us from that book. They understand, like, this was the book that launched the company type of thing. And I've read it to so many classes. And I think the reason why kids resonate with that book and they ask for it over and over again and what makes it a great story is that it's relatable. Kids are mischievous. They get into trouble. They leave messes all over the place. Also, it's rhyming, so it's easily repeatable, right? I could honestly recite you that book right now from beginning to end, forwards and backwards. There's a time where I would like wake up reciting Panda the Very Bad Cat because I had read it so many times to
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
So, right?
Stuck in
And
your
kids would
head,
come
right?
up to
Yeah.
me. Yeah, kids would come up to
Yeah.
me and ask me like questions about Panda and like, is there going to be another Panda book and all this stuff. So I think that Panda is a really good example of, as an author, what I think makes a great story. Children's books are really hard to do in rhyming really well. But if you can do it, that does help with literacy and learning how to read and anticipation of those next words and things like that. But I'd much rather have a better story than an author trying to fit in rhyming where it doesn't belong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Then
as
it
an
just
author,
it
I would
does
say,
yeah,
yeah,
it
it
feels
doesn't work.
too made up. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
clunky and the cadence is
Yeah.
off and all that kind of stuff. So I think
Yeah.
what made, Panda the Very Bad Cat a great book is that kids could relate to it. It was fun, it was silly, it was pandemonium, it was, all of these things. It was beautifully illustrated, bright colors. Um, that's what I think as an author makes a really great children's book, and the fact that your readers can see themselves in the character.
Right. Okay. Wow. That's great information. Thank you so much.
My
Um,
pleasure.
Now for your books, what do you think is important um for book reviews? How to get your book like what's important to you and how to get the book reviews that you would like.
Okay, so I just need a little bit more clarification on the first part of that question. So what reviews are important to me? What do I like, what do I want my readers to take away from my books?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say that, to go back to my main point a few minutes ago, that they were able to relate to the characters in some way, whether they hated them, whether they loved them, whether they were rooting for them, whether they were, able to see themselves and their own experiences in those characters. That's something that really matters to me. And for reviews, here's the thing, okay? There are people out there that are going to hate your book. That's the bottom line. Not
You can't please
everything,
everybody, right?
no,
Yeah.
and not every book is for every person, right? So that's why marketing comes into play as well. And I know that's a topic for another day, but it's really important to
Yeah.
understand who your
It's a
audience
big
is.
topic. Yeah.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
so understanding who you're writing for. And, there's this old adage, I think it was Beverly Cleary that said it, if you don't see the book that you want on the shelf, write it. And I write for myself. I write about things that, I kind of want to express, or subjects that I'm interested in that I have to do research on to learn more about, or things that kind of what if. I remember being a child and always wondering, like, what if this? What if that? And as an adult, that still inspires me and questions, the things around me. Um, that I want to know more about. So, for example, we travel 6 months out of the year, and being able to do that opens up so many opportunities to say, hmm, I wonder what would happen if, or how do, for example, cactuses carry water and the inner workings of that kind of plant, right? So there are so many things that you get to explore when you kind of have that attitude of, I wonder why this is the way it is. And if you look at life from a perspective of, getting reviews on your books and asking yourself that question when you get a bad review, hmm, I wonder what it was specifically that that person didn't like, or I wonder what I could have done differently, to kind of wrap that up more with a bow so that the reader would understand where I was going. So we don't want to put too much stock in reviews, okay? But here's another caveat for you, okay? If the same thing is getting said over and over
Mhm.
and over in multiple reviews, then there is a fundamental problem with that part of the book. Okay. So let's say that, 5 or 6 people say, I don't like how this book ended. Then you really kind of have to look at yourself and say, could I have done this better? What should I have changed? Maybe there is some truth to that. But on the other hand, too, you want to take reviews with a grain of salt. You're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to have a book that's for everyone. Art is subjective, so that's what I would say about reviews. But for what I want from my readers for reviews is just honesty. Did you like the
Yeah.
book? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? What do you think could have been done differently? What could have been better? That type of thing. And
Yeah,
how
because
to
if
get
we
reviews?
only hear the good, we don't know what there is that we could have changed, right? Or changed in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
future in our other books,
definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, it is a
Yeah,
huge learning curve for sure. Yeah.
for sure.
You
Yeah.
you asked me about how to get reviews, right?
Oh, yeah.
That
Mm-hmm.
was the second part of the question. Okay. So I had this actually on our social media the other day. It was the book marketing tip of the day. And it was about getting reviews and the importance of them, but also incentivizing your readers to leave a review. Maybe you want to give them some exclusive content. Maybe you want to give them the first PDF chapter of your new coming book. Maybe you want to mail them some marketing that's exclusive. Maybe you want to enter them into a contest. But the thing is, you have to remember, this is not to persuade people to give you a glowing review. Okay. This is for an honest, truthful review. I also say to my authors all the time, never pay for reviews. Okay. Don't pay for them. They're skewed. We don't want people looking at us and be like, oh, they got a great review on that, or 1,500 great reviews because they paid for them all. I want
Right.
authenticity, right? I
Yeah.
want authentic readers, real readers saying whether they loved it, they hate it, or were indifferent to it, because that helps us grow as authors and as publishers.
Right. And I mean, we were talking about that previously, and when you said it that way, it was like, you know what? That's actually true because you're not really knowing if that review was completely honest in regards to what you really wanted from that review
Exactly.
because you actually paid for it. So it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know
So
what's weird?
that really stuck with me, and yeah,
Good.
yeah.
What's really weird actually too is that something just came out in the news that said Goodreads. Disclaimer, I'm not hating on them. I'm not saying anything that I shouldn't. It's all public knowledge that they had
Right.
something called review bombings happen, where
Oh.
people would review books multiple times under different accounts and they would leave really bad reviews on their competition so that people would think that, this is not a book I'm going to get. Instead of that one, I'm going to get this author's one because this has glowing reviews. So
Mm,
you can only trust authentic reviews and people who have kind of been vetted to say, I was not paid for this. The public is a great source of that. And I know on Amazon, they actually ensure that you did purchase the book through Amazon in order to leave a review. So there's that kind of safeguard in place. But as for, people doing nefarious things and kind of trying to, get rid of their competition by leaving bad reviews on their pages, it backfires because they were found out, first of all, and because when you start to see things that kind of, sound the same and the reviews kind of look the same and the language is used the
yeah.
same, you start to think, is this the same person or is this a bot or what is this? So, uh,
Right.
reviews are important though because 96% of people read them before making a purchase.
Yeah.
So that's something
Yeah.
that we
Yeah,
need
because they
to keep
want to
in mind as
see
well.
if other people like what they read, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, if they
definitely.
like the story, and yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any other advice that you might give any kids that might be watching this as well? That maybe have it in their head that they want to become a writer or an author. Is there any other
Yeah.
advice that you might like to give?
Definitely. For kids who want to become an author or a publisher, even, or an artist, the things that you
Hmm.
need to do are read a lot and write a lot. Those are number one. And the reason being is because that helps you find your voice. Okay. It helps you find maybe even your beginning style to start with in how you like stories to be told and what kind of resonates with you. So maybe that's going to be first person narrative. Maybe that's going to be third person narrative. Maybe it's going to be a completely different take on things, or it's going to be the chance for you to sample multiple voices and see what feels the best for you as a fit when you're writing. For kids who want to be an author, illustrator, publisher, definitely read and write a lot to start with, but also ask really good questions. Okay. Ask the experts. What do you want to know? What do you need to know? Ask as many questions as you can and start to put the puzzle of things together for what you want to write about. So for example, like I'm writing a book right now about archaeology for kids, and I'm doing some research in Arizona at all of these different places, and you have to ask the right questions to get the answers that you're looking for. But that being said, if you ask the wrong question, that's even a better way to learn. So ask as many questions as possible and don't be afraid of asking the wrong questions because that's going to lead you to where you need to go. So, for example, let's say that you were writing a book about, I don't know, trees, and you wanted to do all the different types of trees that shed their leaves and needles, but you said to somebody, what about the cactus or what about an apple tree? And they're like, oh, that doesn't belong in that group of trees. Well, now you have another piece of knowledge that allows you to move forward with your writing and with your story. Um, for adults, I'm just going to throw this in there. Continuing education is key. Absolutely. Read a lot, write a lot, but also continuing your education. um, be able to take courses and classes online if your schedule allows. There's a lot of great stuff out there. We do a bunch of them, and we help with all different genres and things like that. We also do consumer neuroscience and neuromarketing. But I think that continuing your education really allows you to figure out where the holes in your writing are. And when you work with a great school or a great publishing company, they're able to look at your work objectively and say, you know what, this isn't working and this is why. So you build your skill set, right? You said to me previously that I think it was something along the lines of, people not being able to travel and things like that because of different constraints. So
Yes.
with education, you can go wherever you want to go. You know what I mean? Like you can go wherever you want to. You can study at a school in Europe if you have the internet. Go to the library, log on, that type of thing, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of great resources out there for people who do want to continue their education. And you know, getting reviews and things like that that you were saying and hearing only the good stuff, that's why it's really hard to have your family review your manuscript because, they think that you're wonderful. They think that you're great. They think what you're doing is amazing. They think that you hung the moon, that type of thing, right? But
And they might be
they're not
scared to
objective.
say something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why, with continuing education and with somebody who is not that close to you, to get them to review your work, that's another great way to see where you need improvement. So that's what I would recommend for adults is continuing education and getting an objective opinion on what's actually happening with their manuscript and, what they need to improve their writing.
Right. Okay. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. Yeah,
my
that's all
pleasure.
great information. And I really enjoyed the book. Yeah, Grandma Gators Fascinating Facts. So if the listeners are wanting to get your book, I'm going to get all the information from Lacey for her website, where you can get Grandma Gators Fascinating Facts, and so on and so forth. And I will put that in the information in the YouTube link as well. And yeah, and then you can go from there. So thank you for all that information, Lacey. That was amazing.
Thanks for having
And
me. I
thank
really
you. You
appreciate it.
you came to us all the way from Arizona. So
Yeah, and you know what? We're a 2-hour time delay, so I think
oh my
it's like
goodness.
quarter to 7 at your place and it's quarter to 5 at mine. So
Oh,
yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me, and I was really excited to be here and to share my book and to answer your questions. So thank you for having me,
for
Gloria.
sure. Well, we'll be sure to have you back because I know you have a lot of great books
Thanks.
that you can read as well. So we'll see you next time. I will let you go because I know you're a very busy lady. So
Thank you
and
for
we'll
having
talk to you later.
me.
Okay.
Yes, stay
Okay.
warm. I'll
Take
see you
care.
sometime in
Yes.
June.
I know you got
Okay.
to bring some of that hot air over here, eh? All that nice weather.
All the hot
All
air,
right.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Take care. Thanks,
Okay,
Gloria.
bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. So I am in my bedroom. What a great way to have a children's book reading because, where are you when you're reading a children's book? A lot of times it's before bed, right? You're reading it for story time. So I am going to go and please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel because I'm going to have a whole slew of different children's book authors. We will have Lacey back as well because she has, like I said earlier, she has a wide range of different children's books. And so stay tuned for more readings. And again, like and subscribe, and that way you can stay updated and you can know when I'm on next for more story time. Okay, so take care wherever you are in the world and have a good night. Bye bye.